Hey everyone, welcome back to the garage. You saw the title. Again, very common video out there. Your pit bike's going to start on choke only, but when you actually turn choke off, it dies. Well, it's a very common issue with most pit bikes. If you're buying one off marketplace, most people are going to say, hey, it runs on choke only, which it will, and then you flip it to no choke and it doesn't run at all. I'll teach you the solution how to clean the carb, and most of the time it's just a clogged pilot jet. But here, I'll show you this bike, for example. It was a very cheap bike. Runs on choke only. See, it's on choke right now. And now when we put the choke off, dies. Well, sorry for the bad video, but we're going to show you how to clean the carb and take one of these off, so stay tuned. Alright, so now we got the bike in the garage right now. The first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to take the carburetor off. So from what I like to do is I take off the carburetor just itself. I leave the intake on. Some people will take this off, which, you know, some people like to do that. No big deal. I might actually do that for this specific reason, just because it looks like the previous owner has some gaskets in here, and I don't know if I have my spare ones for up here, but I do have one for the, I guess, bottom. So we're gonna just unbolt from the intake, and then we're gonna take apart the carburetor from the bowl. So first off, just take off the filter. Make life a little easier for yourself. Next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna take the throttle off. Now, as you can see here, the next step I'm gonna do after taking the throttle off, see, everything looks pretty fine here. It looks actually pretty clean, not gonna lie. The seal up here is still there, so that's good, and that's also another common reason why some of these carburetors tend to run really, really lean and only run choke only, because they're missing a seal up there. But ours is right there, so we're okay. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take the fuel line off. Now, the first thing you're gonna do, shut that fuel line off. You don't wanna just pop it off and then boom, everything's leaking, and then you're wondering what the heck's going on. You make a big mess. So we're gonna take this off, and as you can see, there is absolutely no fuel filter, so this might be a great reason of why the pilot jet clogged up so quick. So we're gonna grab a nice flat screwdriver. Depending on, most of the time you can just pop it off, but this guy put some, what's it called, clamps here, which is not bad, but it's a little bit extra work. So once you got that loose enough, pop it off. You are gonna leak a little bit, just be prepared for it. So once that's leaked up, you're good. Now, next step is we're gonna take the intake off, and it looks like, from what I could tell with my eyes, it's a 10 mil. Most of the time these things are, from what I remember back in the day, 8 mils up here. Sometimes they're 8s, sometimes they're 10s, but we're gonna use a 10 mil to get them off. So let's open up the drawer. That's fine. It's a 10 mil wrench. Yep. And now pop these bolts off. Now, when you're taking off the, here, we're gonna zoom out a little bit. When you're taking the bolts off, we are gonna have to drain the gas from the carburetor. I'm just gonna put it into a oil pan and just drain the gas out from there. However, you can drain it out from the bowl. There's a screw on the other side. You just have to use a flathead, and you can just empty it there. That's only if you want. It's all preference. So we're just gonna undo these bolts real quick, and then, yeah, it's gonna be a little bit of a process. Not process, it's just taking a while since I'm doing it with one hand and using a wrench to go very slow. But all's good here, so. See, now we got them loose with my hand, so I can kind of finish it from here instead of using the wrench. There we go. Oop, farted. Oh well, if you're listening to the video, you just heard a fart. Good for you. You win the prize. There's the one bolt out. I'm just gonna use my right hand because I'm more right-handed than left. Now my right hand's getting tired, so now we're gonna go back to the left. Just keep on switching. You know, we're just gonna use this because this is gonna become a process of me getting annoying. So So these are some long ass bolts, so pretty annoying. Now it just keeps getting tougher. Probably because these bolts haven't been out in a very long time, so yep, you get to watch the grueling pain of me taking these bolts out. So sorry you get to watch, but I don't really feel like cutting stuff out because I don't want something, not believing what's going to happen or something, you know. Wow, this is, there we go. That was a long, grueling process of you watching me guys, so there you go. So now, carburetor, here we go. And with this carburetor, I typically say, just replace it with a Chinese carburetor. If you have a Chinese dirt bike, not a big deal. They both perform similar. However, this is a Japanese one, so I'm gonna be a little extra nice and just clean the carb. And that's why I'm making the whole video instead of just doing a simple carb replacement. Which that'll be another video to come, but we're just pouring the gas out. Pour it in a good container, gas container, dispose of it the right way, or just pour it in wherever you feel like it, but just know some things have risks, so be aware of what you do. Alright, so now we have this done. Gas is mostly drained. We're going to go on this dirty ass workbench and we're going to take out the screws. As you can see, there's Allen heads. These typically have a Phillips head. It's not the first time anyone's been in a car before. So it looks like we're going to use an Allen head for this one. This one I think is the right size. Yep. We're going to take our screws out here. We'll see what's happening. See if previous owner forgot to install parts or seals or if anything's bad. Sorry, literally trying to show you. Here, one second. I'm going to use my camera here. You're going to see a little bit of the brake cleaner, but at least at this point, maybe you can see me getting the. There we go. Bolts out, or screws out. Alright, so pop these out. I'm just putting them on the bench right here. There you go. I'm going to pop this bowl off. Alright, it looks like it is a little more dirty than I thought compared to. Here you go. One second, sorry. As you can see, there's a little bit of gunk in there. You could use a carb clean in the bowl. Here, as you can see, here's this. It's actually like kind of gross greenish. It's probably just because of mix of old gas, never got drained, and you know, not taken care of, dirty. So let's get to the main situation of what I think is wrong. As you can see here in the carburetor, you have your float needles up here. This is your main jet, this is your pilot jet. If you want to know the simple breakdown, your main jet controls mostly your mid-range throughout the high RPMs, and your pilot jet controls mostly the low to mid, and then you have your air fuel screw, which is idle to low RPM. So that's just a quick basic rundown of how these carbs work. So we're going to pop this off. We need a flat screwdriver again. We're going to pop this pilot jet off. You gotta make sure you get a hold of it, because these are brass and they will break away if you don't do it the right way. So there we go, we broke it loose. We're gonna pop the pilot out and we're gonna look through it. It's gonna be very hard for the camera to look through here, but yeah, I'm looking through it right now and I'm not sure if you guys can see it or not, but I'm gonna try and look through at the light, try and focus. Sorry, you can see my gross ass fingers. But I'm not seeing any little hole or anything. It's very tough. Most times you should see a little tiny hole of light, but there is absolutely none here, so we're just gonna shoot it out real quick with some carb cleaner. Now, if you're lucky, you can get yourself one of these tools, or cleaning kits. I'm gonna stab through it a few times, break out the loose stuff. So we're gonna get the smallest needle here. I'm just gonna poke through, just poking through the carb, or poke me through the jet. Then we're going the other side. poke through a few times. And now we're going to top it off with carb cleaner. We're just going to shoot through. Alright. And I don't have any compressed air on me at the moment. I might have the little office can, but one second. You can use this, or if you actually have an air compressor, that'll work even better. So this is just the more ghetto way of doing it. So didn't really soak it, but we're gonna. All right. Still nothing yet. We might need to soak this, so here's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna put this in the bowl, and I'm actually gonna take the main jet out as well. So we're gonna take the main jet out. I'm gonna have them soak for at least like 5 minutes in carb cleaner, and then at that point we're gonna use the carb cleaning tool again to poke through with the needles. And wherever my main jet just went. There it is right here. So here with the bowl, we're just gonna soak these in carb cleaner and let them soak for 5 minutes, and we'll be back. All right, guys, we've let the jet soak for at least 5 minutes. We're gonna put the camera back here. I'm going to pull out the pilot jet real quick, spray it out with the. Oh, we just got some little bit of stuff squirting out. And if you can see, it might be very hard. If you see the little hole in there, you can see the light. If you see that light, you're pretty meant to go. So we're just gonna, this is gonna be good for now. It's cleared out, and this should solve the trick. Just watch. But first of all, we're just gonna spray in the where the pilot jet sits. Clear that out. There we go. We're gonna install our pilot jet back in here now. I'm just gonna get it started with my hand, and now we're going to finish it with the, what's it called? Screwdriver. Oh, I must have. Make sure I got this in right. One second. One second, we'll pause. Sorry, we're back. I was just making sure I wasn't cross-threading the jet. That would have been bad news. See, don't do what I just did there. That could possibly destroy your float, and very sus. So now I got that seated in. I'm going to take the main jet out, which the main jet I think was clean. Obviously the gas was able to get through it, accelerate. So yeah. Should be able to see a nice hole through there. And this main part, there's already a pretty big hole, as you can see. I'll just squirt through it once. The main jet chamber. Yep, that's good enough. And then, yeah, you should be able to see a pretty big hole there. Now we're gonna pop the main jet back in. Use the screwdriver to get that on. Don't tighten it too hard, just tighten it enough or it won't come off. Otherwise, the brass is very fragile and soft, it'll squish. So with this solution, we're just gonna dump it right here, no big deal. Now we're gonna put the bowl back on. And we'll use the Allen heads like this guy had in, I guess. They seem to work fine, because the common thing people do is strip out the flat heads, and then that's a whole pain in the butt to work with. So we're just gonna get the Allen heads back on, tighten them down, and make sure your seal is in as well. Make sure that's good enough. Which the seal was good for this bowl, so we're gonna tighten that a little bit. And then we're going to tighten that a little bit more. Alright, here's your carb. It's going to be pretty much back to normal. Let's get back to the bike. We're going to mount it back on. So I'm going to put my phone right here so you guys can try to see what I'm doing. So first of all, you have the gasket is still under here, so I'm calling it good for now. You could be the judge. Most of the time I'd say replace it, but I mean, for this purpose only, that gasket is still pretty decent, so we're just gonna let that go. So we're gonna get both of our screws, put them both in. There we go. Slowly get them in. So I'm using just both my hands right now to get them in hand tight, and then from there I'll just use the wrench. And remember, don't crank too hard. They are torque specs. I don't know them off the top of my head, but I just don't tighten too hard to the fact that I'd be stripping the bolts or the threads. That would be bad. So now we're gonna tighten that back on. And you could use a little socket if you can fit it in there, but I'm just using the wrench because that's the most accessible way, but it is also one of the slower ways to do it. But at least you can get the job done with the wrench. Not everyone has sockets. And we go on the other side and tighten that down. Alright, my sides are pretty tight. So now what we can do, we can install the throttle cable back in. Do that. Make sure it seats down. Make sure you don't cross thread the throttle up there. If you could see, let's get the flashlight for you guys real quick. The slide is all the way down. That means we didn't miss. So it's not even on choke right now. So we're gonna put it on full choke. I'm gonna throw this back on the hose. That fuel hose, we are gonna tighten it. We do have to tighten this, so. It's on pretty tight. We're gonna turn our fuel back on. And we can put our filter back on. You could technically run without the filter, but you just asking for trouble at that point. You're gonna end up getting more stuff in there than you should. So there you go. We're just gonna pop that on. Bike is on choke right now. On. Fuel is getting into the carb. Let it do it for like 15-20 seconds. At that point, we're gonna try and start it. So I'm doing this in slides. Don't do this. Yeah, we're gonna get shoes real quick. There we go. More reliable. Falling apart. At least maybe the gas set. This is also very slippery too. Doesn't excuse me. So full choke is struggling, and this is no choke. No choke right now, guys, and it's running great. All you need to do, clean that pilot jet out. And from here, previous owner had the idle adjusted really high. Yep, this is where we can lower it. Much better. So that's the simple carb clean for you guys. Thanks for watching.